Hello everyone. We left off our shooter game with having the star fly out at us. Um, Probably should have free transformed this down a little bit. And just to show you, looks a little better that way so it's small and comes out big. And of course, let me play it again. The red cursor on the red star is kind of silly. You can't see it too good, but I suspect you guys are going to want to change it anyway. And let me show you how to do that. So rather than have just the star you drew, which was a good way to get the motion working, and we have it on this scrap layer right here, what we're going to do is we're going to delete this scrap layer. Actually, before we do anything, before we start messing around, let's do a save as and save this as Mr. G Shooter Game 3, which I already have there because I've been playing around with this obviously, so I'm just going to replace it and do it over again for the purpose of this video. Okay, so now that we have Mr. G Shooter Game 2 saved and preserved and not going to mess up if our computer crashes, I'm going to go and delete this layer. I'm going to import a different picture, and because I know you guys are pissed off at me for having you do this, I'm going to make you shoot me. So here's me back when I played football in high school. I'm going to double click on the monster movie clip icon. I'm going to delete the star, and I'm going to drag my picture onto the screen. Center it as best I can. Doesn't really need to be perfect. Then I'm going to go back to scene 1. Because we don't have all the necessary code yet to make it appear on the screen, one way to test it out is just add a scrap layer, drag the monster movie clip onto the screen, not just the picture, but the movie clip, because we want the symbol on there. And again, if we leave it this size, it starts here and gets much bigger, so let's shrink it down so it's going to look more like our game. And then if we play it now, you'll see me flying out at the screen. But you also see this, all the trees around me, and I guess if you had a character that you wanted to shoot and it had some background there, you won't want the background there. So let's do a little Photoshop work. So let's go to Photoshop and let's open up that picture in Photoshop. Zoom in a little bit. So this is a pretty hard one to do, and this is what I was talking about before. It's not that great of a quality picture, but I'm still going to use the magic wand. Before I do anything, I'm going to jump this layer with Control J, because you can't delete stuff on the background and I want to keep it there just in case I screw something up. I'm going to turn off the eyeball to that one, and I'm going to just click here and see what happens. Right now my tolerance is set on 15. Okay, so the lower the tolerance, if I make it a 1, if I click, it doesn't really pick that much. It's looking for colors that are exactly the same as what's there. And these buttons right here are new selection, add to selection, subtract from selection. So I want a new selection first time I click, but then I want to add to it. So I want to add more. But you see how it's not joining them? Okay, that's because my tolerance is too low. So I'm going to make this 50. Okay, leave it on add selection. When I click here, see how it gets a whole lot more. But you got to be careful because anything that's close to being the same color, it's going to want to go over. So you see how this green and that brown of my crazy hair there is about the same. So let's undo that and put the tolerance down to maybe 30 and see how that works. Alright, so now it's working better. It's working better. You might not have to do this because your picture may have a nice defined outline. But if you want to get a picture of like Mr. Weber, Mr. Lipsky, any of those people, and you want to have them fly out in your screen, you can do that. It'd be pretty cool. But you see, it's working pretty good at 30, so it's something you can fiddle around with. These misses right here, I'm going to click on. So I'm adding to the selection, and sometimes you miss things. Oh, see, sometimes you miss things right at the edge that you can't really see. But I'm going to leave that the way it is right now. This I'm going to go back and subtract that to extend it out a little bit. Oh, too much. Let's leave it like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. I don't want to waste your time. So now that I have that done, I'm just going to hit delete on my keyboard. But now how good of a job did it do? I'm not really sure because I got that checkerboard and whatever. So one way to fix that, or to see how good you did, I'm going to press Control D on my keyboard to deselect everything, make a new layer, drag it in between these two, And I see a lot of red here, brown, beige. I don't see a lot of blue. So I'm going to put a nice blue color into that middle layer. So here we have just the middle layer selected. Using my bucket tool, which it's already on, click there. Now when I turn this back on, you'll see all the misses. So you can see this little straggly stuff. So in your game, this picture comes flying out, you're going to see stuff floating around over there. You don't want that. A good way to get rid of that is if you just use the rectangular, what do they call it? Marquee tool, I guess, if this thing ever pops up. There you go, rectangular marquee tool. Before you start doing this though, make sure you get off of this layer, go back on layer 1, or whatever is the top layer there. I didn't really want that tool anyway, I wanted this tool. I like the polygonal lasso tool because I rather just click, then click, then click. I'm just drawing some shape around there. When I get that little circle popping up, I know it's going to complete my shape. And once I do that, I hit delete, and you can see all that stuff went away. And again, I'm on this layer, so I'm deleting what was up in that corner. If I'm on the blue layer, I delete the blue. I don't want to do that. Right? I hit Control D to deselect. If I want, I can zoom in a little more. And using the polygonal lasso, yeah, it draws straight lines and things around here are really curved. But you know what? It doesn't really matter because we're zoomed so far in. When we zoom out, no one's ever going to know. I'm just clicking a bunch of times until I get over here, then hit delete. And so the reason for the blue layer is because that checkerboard's a little hard to see. So the blue stands out very nicely. I'm just going to delete this. And there seems to be something over here. I don't really know what it is. But again, the quick selection tool worked great, but not perfectly. But then I go in here and clean this up. Okay, so now I know I won't have any little floaties around there. This kind of looks stupid. Let me go down here. And out here you can do whatever you want. You can go all the way out or whatever, because there's nothing there anyway. Okay, looking good. Zoom back out. And now we're going to go do File, Save As. You can turn the blue on or off, it doesn't really matter. And this we're going to call Mr. G Monster, let's say. Call it whatever you want. And please don't use, well, you could use my picture if you want, but I'd rather see everybody using all different things. So sometimes I hate showing people what to do because then everybody does the same thing. Do something different. Get some other people you like to shoot. You don't want to shoot me anyway. Alright, so now we're going to import this, or import that thing we just did, Mr. G Monster. Notice it says you want to bring in the blue layer too? No. So that's why you could have turned it off or not. If you turned it off, it would have been unchecked here. If you leave it on, it's checked. You just uncheck it. We say OK. Alright, so I have this picture with the background. I have that. I don't know what's, oh, here. I want to click that thing. Here we go. So that's what we want. It also made a symbol out of it, but again, it doesn't make a movie clip symbol. It makes a graphic symbol, and I don't want that, so I'm going to delete it. Okay, I just want this. So I'm going to go here and I'm in scene 1. So here, this layer we want to delete. We want to go back to the monster movie clip. And here we want to delete that. So if it's not selected, click on it once to select it, hit delete, and then we want this one there. Put that in the center. Go back to scene 1. Drag the monster. Oop. You got to make a new layer because this one I have turned off, so I can't really put anything on it. Turn it back on. Make a new layer that's just scrap that we're going to get rid of later when we write more code to make this work the way we really want it to. Put it over here. Shrink it down some. And then when you play it, it looks like this. So it looks better. Now obviously if you got a person with legs and the whole sort of character, and what works great? Cartoon type characters, because they're usually drawn with a nice dark black outline. So when you go into Photoshop and you click with the magic wand, it just does it right, because whatever's the background, it gets defined very nicely by a black outlined image. So an actual photograph is a lot harder to work with than something that's drawn like a cartoon character. So whatever you want to put there, but that's how you do it. That's how you make a custom monster. Leave this layer so that you can show me. And again, we named it number 3, so let's just save it before we leave. When we start our next part of the game, we'll come up with we'll give it a number 4 so as not to go over what we just did by accident. Okay,